Alright, we're going to continue on in the method section, and we're looking at measures of variables and how we're going to understand what they are. So we're going to start here with a questionnaire. The questionnaire is going to be the survey or the instrument. There are other words that people may use, but it's where you get the items or questions that are going to be asked. So here I have an example. It's called the Adult Family Study. So this is a larger study that's being done, and this is one of the questionnaires. For this study, they talk to a target, to their spouse, to the target's parents, and to target's children. So there were questionnaires for each one of those. Today, as the example, I'm just going to show you the target interview. In creating a questionnaire, you can create it in a program such as Word so that it can either be filled out by an individual, or in this case, this is going to be read. This is a telephone interview. So here you can see, hello, my name is, and the interviewer would fill in the information and go through the questionnaire. It's important to understand there are other types of questionnaires. You can have an online, this is the Qualtrics survey software. This one is free to Penn State users. There's also SurveyMonkey is a free online option. And then we have other free options such as a Google document. Here they have Google Forms where you can create questionnaires as well. Now looking at the type of questions that you can have in a questionnaire. Now remember, we went over this before, each one of these individual statements are items. So let's look here at an index. So an index is when you have a bunch of items together that individually we're not going to look at, but we're going to sum them up and combine them in and make a more generalized dimension from it. So this one is going to be considered a physical health and exercise index, and we're going to bring all these things together to decide. Now this index is a yes-no index. So an individual is going to indicate whether they are able to do the thing or not able. Then we will sum up the number of yeses and nos and get a score. So this is an index, and each one of these, even though these are questions, they are called items. So this index has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 items to create the physical health and exercise index. Using the example from the Google Doc survey, we also have scales. Scales always can range. This one is 1 to 10, and it's starting not at all confident to extremely confident. Now with a scale, it still generally will have several items. So this is the diet behavior scale, and as you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions that we're asking, and again we're going to sum these up together to measure this variable of diet behavior. When designing a questionnaire, it's important to think about the considerations of the person taking it. Nobody wants to spend more time than necessary taking a questionnaire. So as researchers, we're always careful to include skip logic so that we can not ask questions not necessary. For example, here we can see some skip logic, and then it says if the answer is no, we skip to the instruction above B7, so that you can then skip down and move around in the survey more quickly. So returning back to our article that we were looking at for the method, measures, items, participants section, we're looking back here at the measures again, and just to kind of see how that translates. So you have the questionnaire, and there again, just to reiterate, we have the 17 items. That would have been what you just looked at, all those items there, and it's going to be summarized what it is, giving some example. It'll always say, see, here's the scale ranging from not a problem to serious problem. So that's some words you can use to help decide if it was a scale. Here it says where the scores can range from. And this is what we were talking about, that we're going to sum up all those items. And here we have our mean, standard deviation, and range for a particular area. Although questionnaire design is one of the most common forms of data collection or methods used by social science researchers, it's important to understand that not everybody responds, and I'm sure that would make sense to you. If I asked all of you to fill out a questionnaire, not everybody would return it either. So that amount of people who return the questionnaire, if I send it out to 1,000 people and 500 people return it, that would be my study sample with those that I get back, and that also coordinates with my response rate. It could also be called a completion rate, or sometimes it's called the return rate if it's one that I'm sending out a questionnaire. Sometimes we can't calculate this rate. For example, in the study we were looking at before here, if we look up, it says that letters of inviting age-eligible patients to participate were sent from the endocrinology clinic. We have no idea how many letters were sent out from the endocrinology clinic as researchers. We only heard back those who responded to those, so we don't really know the response rate for that one. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. One other thing I wanted to cover was looking at the questionnaire. I mean, this is a really long questionnaire. All of them are. Some shorter than others. Probably took about 2 hours to do this interview over the phone, and lots and lots and lots of areas covered. Now, this is a study. All of this together makes a study, and from it we have lots of articles. So, for example, these here are all publications from that exact same study, the one you just looked at. And as you can see, there are more manuscripts and works in progress. That there will be probably 50 to 100 articles that will come out of this one study. Yet, when we talk about a paper, we also often call it a study. So in here, the questionnaire each one of these used is the same questionnaire, but they took different scales and different items and different variables to write different stories about what was going on to convey the research.